And ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and my, oh my, we are glad about that, because on the air with us this morning is the one, the only, the man who makes it happen, who stirs the sauce, who cooks the juice, ladies and gentlemen, and it's marinating now, even as we speak. So without further ado, we bring to you the maestro, the one who gets the party rocking. It's the one and only T-Boz with words of wisdom and moments of meditation. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I don't know whether to say, come on in, it's time for lunch, or sing a song. Volare. I don't know. Hey, come on in. We got a sauce over here. I don't know, Jock. Good morning, everyone. People are piling in. They're in costume over here, Jock. What a show we have today. A program is my brother-in-law, my brand new out-of-the-box brother-in-law. Actually, 2 months ago today, I was getting married. So 2 months later, and the beautiful lady Diana, some people nickname her T-Boz, is still here. So welcome in, everyone. The classroom is full. There are still people coming in. We have a lot to do today. Want to welcome some new listeners. Three of them are international square dance caller Bill Mager, his beautiful wife Sarah, their daughter Stephanie. But we're going to get into those three in a minute. So hang on to your words of wisdom. And I just wanted to mention very quickly, George did a wonderful job on either side of the stage. It's like a 1-foot stage. Either side, wow, look at all these costumes, Jock. Either side of the stage, beautiful corn stalks that George did, pumpkins. I can't believe I didn't mention this early in October. Beautiful mums that he refreshes every week for the program and for the classmates coming in. George, beautiful job. I mean, he has an artistic eye, and it came out beautiful. So people are piling in with costumes. George is wearing a blackboard, and it has a algebra equation on it, and his costume is he's a mathematician. Had dinner with him Friday night and his beautiful wife, Alicia, and found out that George loved math in high school and grammar school. It was not one of my stronger subjects. And Stan over there is wearing a cat in the hat. And the reason why, Stan, yesterday was National Cat Day, and that's going to tie into our theme in a couple of seconds. And everyone's coming in. Oh, there's one couple in the back as Gumby and Pokey. There's someone in a football outfit. What? Oh, because we did a football show a couple of weeks ago. They have their football outfit on. And we have some people as ghosts and pumpkins. There's a couple of clowns. There's also a couple of clowns. One guy's across the street, and I'm over here. Just kidding, John. A couple of clowns. And even Marion, with her service dog, has a little white jacket on that says Boo. So some are in costume. Maybe I'll mention some of those later. Some aren't. Very quickly, Jock had Deirdre from Fish on, and they do a lot of work in the community. They're having a clothing drive. Boys and girls, here's your chance. People say all the time, oh, I don't have the time. I don't have the talent to help or volunteer. You can go in the closet, okay, that closet, because I'm from Long Island. There's a coat there you haven't worn since Reagan was president. Get it out of there. It's in good shape. They don't want stuff that's ripped. And bring it to there's many drop-off points. I'm sure Deirdre will be back on Jock's show. And I'm sure if you go to their website, Fish, they have the drop-off. I know 2 drop-off points are going to be St. Peter's Hall, the beautiful hall there, and St. Paul's Lutheran Church up on the hill. So, Jesus says, he doesn't say for the poor to come to the church. He says we are to bring the church to the poor and the marginalized. Here is your opportunity. I don't care if you're an atheist, agnostic, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, it doesn't matter. You have a heart, and you know what it's like to be cold. And most of you listening to this program have extra coats and sweaters that you can bring. And by the way, on a side note, I told Jock off the air, the first girl I ever dated, my first girlfriend for 3 months, her name was Deirdre. So there you go. Not that anyone cares, but please, boys and girls, make an effort to make these donations. They're looking for volunteers, but get that coat, that heavy sweater, and bring it to these drop-off points. I think it's November 12th. and really impact the lives of someone else. Bring the church to the poor. All right, now, we got a shout-out, and this is why I mentioned the Magers. We have a shout-out, a young girl. She's 26. Her name is Stephanie Feiner. She is the daughter of Bill and the beautiful Sarah Mager. And Bill is, like I said, our square dance caller and teacher. Fabulous, fabulous guy that we have. His wife is an excellent square dance caller, square dancer. But they have a daughter, Stephanie, and she accomplished the unbelievable. She has come in number 1 in the world in squat lifting, non-drug. 515 pounds. Boom. She also came in number 9 in the world overall in this weightlifting competition, and she non-drugs. The interesting thing that her mother told me at a dance the other day is that Stephanie had set this. We talked about dreams a few weeks ago. We talked about complaining, right? So she had set this goal a year ago, and she wanted to accomplish this, but she missed it. You know, we all set goals. We miss things. Doesn't mean that we're, failing. We just got to get back up there and do it again, right? Okay. So she missed it. So she reset the goal, right? As you computer guys say, reboot it. She reset it. Here's the beautiful part. Here's the part we talk about bringing the church to the poor. Is she set the goal 2 ways. One for her personal best, but also for the team that she is the gymnastic coach for. So she had a goal for herself, and she also wanted it for a bigger purpose besides just her personal goal, but to inspire and to enrich the lives of the people that she coaches. Can you say, wow? I mean, that's the real record holding there. The squat is amazing. But the fact that the lives of the team that she touched by getting back in the game and accomplishing this goal and doing it to them too, I tell you, Bill and Sarah, they have 2 sons too. I don't know them as well. I know a little about Stephanie through Facebook, and Bill mentions her from time to time in class. If they're listening, you've done a tremendous job with your daughter. And she's only 26. She has a full life ahead of her of making her own accomplishments and helping others do the same. And so we congratulate her for that. And let's get on over to Stan, the coffee man, who's waiting so anxiously with his cat in the hat and National Cat Day yesterday. Stan, what do we have in the pot today? Blueberry spice medium roast. It smells blueberry-ish. And, because I went to Maine for my honeymoon. Blueberries are big up there. Okay, very good, Stan. And we have apple turnovers. We have muffins. We have yogurt jock. We have bananas. A beautiful bowl of strawberries. And Mr. Stan, who is our sponsor today for the dessert table. I was there yesterday, none other than the donut station across from Lowe's on the Winstead Road. I always thought it was Main Street. Go over there. They got a nice outdoor patio, breakfast sandwiches, get a coffee, get an apple turnover. Beautiful, nice and bright inside. You can sit with your friends and have a good time. And we thank them for sponsoring the dessert table today. And anyone is allowed to go up and get it throughout the broadcast. If you need something, George will help you. And yes, George is giving out little bags of candy to everyone, a little treat from WATJ for Halloween. All right, let's get to the body of the work. So the talk today, last week, we kind of pushed the envelope, got a little tense. This week, we are going to do pets, the joy of pets, the joy of animals, what they bring to our life, what we can learn, not only from the pets, but what we can learn about ourselves as a people. And you'll hear a really an amazing quote from Gandhi in a little bit. But what we can learn and what we can do as pet owners. So we tied this into the Feast of St. Francis. Everyone knows St. Francis, patron saint of animals and the environment. His feast day is October 4th, so it's still October. So Mary and I thought, yep, boom, let's get this in there. And so the Feast of St. Francis, and he was born in 1182, and he died in 1226. He was 45 years old. He was born to a very wealthy father who was a garment merchant, but he said, you know what, Pop, I don't want this life of rich and privilege. I'm going to go out into the woods made his own clothes from rags and things, and became one of people's favorite saint. Actually, all denominations of Christianity, all of them, celebrate the Feast of St. Francis, which is the day that he died, October 4th. And they have blessing of animals, and they do it over here at St. Francis in Torrington, and people bring all kinds of animals, even snakes, iguanas, rabbits, chickens, all of that, and they bless them because people care about their animals. They love their animals. So next October, if you have a pet, look for one of these churches. Doesn't matter, Congregationalist, Lutheran, Catholic, it doesn't matter. They all do it, and they look to St. Francis. So we're going to take St. Francis' theory about animals and the care of animals and what they mean to us, and we're going to tie that into this talk today about animals and pets, the joy of pets, what they've done to us. I have a wonderful story about Lassie. Hopefully we can get to that if we keep moving along here. All right, some fun facts. The top 5 most popular pets in the United States. Number 5, rabbit and guinea pigs, 1.5 million. Number 4, birds, owned by 5 million people in the United States, 9% of the population. Number 3 is fish, 11.5 million. You don't have to walk them or brush them. My favorite was the kissing gourami and the guppy. Anyway, fish. Now, that's number 3. So number 5 is rabbits, number 4 is birds, 3 is fish. Here comes number 2 and number 1. You guys are not going to believe this, but it's the truth. Marianne looked this up 3 times. Dogs are number 2, owned by 65 million homes in the United States. Can you say be a veterinarian? So 65 million dogs, and the winner, and Stan has the hat to prove it, cats. 90 million homes have cats in the United States. Can you say me wow? Cats. And I know T-Boz, the beautiful lady Diana, my wife, is loving that statistic. So there you have it, the top 5 rabbits, top 5 animals owned by the United States in terms of pets. Top 5 TV favorite dogs, and then we're going to get into the body of the work. Here you go. Number 5, Snoopy from Charlie Brown. Number 4, Eddie, the dog Eddie. Some of you are probably saying, wasn't that the dog on Frasier? Yep, you got that right, Eddie. Number 3, Rin Tin Tin. If you remember that, he was like a cavalry dog, and he was a German Shepherd, and I used to love that show, Saturday mornings back in the 60s. Number 2 is the cartoon dog Scooby-Doo, and he comes in at number 2. And number 1, you're all going to guess it. Doesn't matter where you sit politically, religiously, whatever. No one is going to disagree with this. The number 1 TV dog of all time, Lassie. And what a wonderful show. We just lost June Lockhart. She was 100 years old. But the black and white show with, I think, Provost, Johnny Provost. And what a wonderful show. I enjoyed watching that. So if you want to watch some good television, boys and girls, if you can get that, watch a couple of those shows. It might lighten your heart and make you feel good. All right, let's see what Scripture says about animals and pets and all of that as we go through this fun-filled morning conversation. All right. We look at Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. And so God says, I'm going to make mankind in my image. Creates man in his image and his likeness. Now, I want all of you in the classroom and listening at home, hold on to that word, his image and likeness. And then he goes on to say that man will have dominion over the animals. Now, I know a bunch of people don't like the word dominion. Scripture is translated from Aramaic, and then it went into Latin, and it just kept getting, all right? But if you trace it back, dominion means care for, have respect for, okay? So before we all get like, uh-oh, I don't like that, God says that man will have dominion, will care for the animal. We go down to Genesis chapter 2, verse 19 to 20. It says, and then the Lord God took out of the earth, and he created the birds of the sky, the fish of the ocean, the livestock, the cattle, all creeping critters that crawl about the earth. So God created all of these. You're going to hear an interesting thing. St. Francis ties this to humanity. So he creates all things, and then he calls Adam, and he has Adam name all of the animals. Now, this is in Scripture. These are Bible stories. It may not have happened exactly this way, but just hang with me. This is Genesis, and it's a way to explain how things created. But what a cool thing for Adam, right? First day on the job is mankind, and he gets to hang out with, all the animals, right? Like Dr. Seuss or something. He's got animals everywhere, and he's saying, you're going to be a cow, and you're going to be a bird, and you're going to be a kissing gourami, and all of that, right? So what a cool thing for Adam to do. But God gives him what? The responsibility to name the animals and then to care for them. Let's see how important animals are in Scripture. We look at Psalms chapter 36, verse 6, and it says, the Lord God preserves both people and animals. Boom. There's no favorite there. He creates all things, okay? But the thing we want to be careful of is we can love our pet, but we must always understand to love the Creator and then the creation, not the other way around, because all things come from Him above. Some of you don't believe that. That's fine. That's fine. Whatever you do to get to that point, but realize that these animals that you love just don't pop out of the sky. Some of them have evolved, but they're created and created out of love. We look at how important animals are to God. We look at Noah's Ark, right? Look at the story of Noah's Ark. He says to Noah, hey, dude, I'm going to open up the floodgates. There ain't going to be a lot of beachfront here, so you better build a boat, right? And then he tells him, get 2 of every animal. So he doesn't just save the people, he also saves all of the animals. And if you've ever seen the movie about Noah's Ark, it's wonderful. You see the giraffes, and you see elephants, and you see all of these animals, lions and birds, and everything coming into the ark. And at the end, when Noah's waiting and waiting to see the land, right, it isn't that he sees the land, but a dove, a symbol of peace, brings an olive branch. And Noah reaches out and takes it out of the dove's mouth and knows that land is nearby. And that's why we use the olive branch as a symbol of peace when we're trying to patch things up with a spouse or a friend or a coworker. So an animal brings the message to Noah that there's hope. We look in the book of Jonah, okay? Here again, Jonah is a prophet, and he lives in 626 BC, so 700 years before Jesus is born. And he says, what do you want me to do with the city, the evil city of Nineveh? There's 126,000 people there. They don't know their left hand from their right hand. That's where that saying comes from, by the way. They're evil. And then he says, and there's also animals there. Wow. So here's Jonah, the great prophet, saying to God, gee, you're going to destroy this city. The city is evil. There's people, but there's animals there. So in all these instances, the story of Adam, we look at Noah's Ark, we look at Psalms, we look at the book of Jonah. Animals are reverent. Animals are important. Animals are vital. So as important as they are to the being of the force that created them, then they should also have that meaning to us. We look at St. Francis, and he, when he went into the woods, and he called animals his brothers and sisters, and he saw all creatures connected through God's love. Therefore, he viewed that compassion for all animals part of humanity. So the compassion for animals is not just compassion for animals, but it's part of our humanity. What St. Francis is saying is, how could you be fully human? How could you be fully alive if we're all connected under God's love, if we're all connected for a purpose? We talk about that all the time on this program. Then the love of an animal, the care for the animal, the respect of an animal, preserving their environment, it connects our humanity. You can't separate the two, is what Francis is saying. Okay, he was so in tune to that. We can learn so much from him. I encourage all of you to look up some of the great things of St. Francis. Okay, he further says this, and this is important, ready for this? If you have any men that exclude any of God's creatures from the shelter of compassion and pity, you will have men that will exclude fellow men. Bing, bang, ba-boom. And we were just talking about fish. Jock had Deirdre on. We're talking about the clothing drive. So, and wait till you hear this by Gandhi. But what St. Francis is saying is if you have men that don't even give pity and shelter to animals, not that they're lower, but animals, okay, and have compassion for that, then how could you say that you would have compassion for a human being? It doesn't go together. So what St. Francis is saying is you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. Now, we do have, there is a pet mentality, and then there is farm mentality. When we were involved in 4-H, one of the famous, actually a very popular breeder of rabbits, Gene Vale, who now lives in Torrington, taught us that there's farm mentality and pet mentality. Today we're focusing, for the purpose of the talk, on pet mentality. We understand that animals work and they pull things, and dogs rescue. Or you have the Fidelco guide dogs that help the blind. We have Marion's service dog. So there are many things that animals do in our life to help us, okay? But what St. Francis is saying is even if that animal is helping you, even if that animal is pulling a plow, what he's saying is feed it, care for it, take care of it, because if you don't, you're going to be digging that hole by yourself, which is impossible. So we thank St. Francis for that. We look further down at Mahatma Gandhi, and he has a wonderful quote here, and it ties into the clothing drive. And he was born actually October 2nd, 1869. He says, the greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way it treats animals. Boom, bang, boom. The moral progress of a nation is how that nation treats animals. And so we go right back to the clothing drive. If people are not treating animals well or caring for their pets, the question I want to ask is, if you've ever been to Walmart, I don't understand. I'm from Long Island. I don't understand why people bring dogs to Walmart. The dog is barking like crazy in a car. I mean, if you want to spend time with the dog, take him up to Burr Pond and throw a Frisbee. I still can't make that connection. I would think, having had dogs, we're going to talk about my dog in a minute, that at home, whether in the crate or in the basement or on a cozy couch, would be much better than sitting in a hot car in Walmart parking lot. Someone has to help me with that, because I don't understand that as quality time. So when we talk about it, Gandhi says a moral progress, if you're going to treat your animals well and take care of them, that brings us right back to the clothing drive. And not saying, oh, I don't have time to go to my closet, on the first floor and take that coat out that I don't wear to help a human being. Go right back to what St. Francis says, right? It all goes together. Our humanity. I mean, Jock couldn't have had a better guest on to help illustrate the point of how animals and the care for them should enlighten and inspire our help and care for fellow human beings. We're all connected. Remember that show, We're All Connected, a commercial? It is 11:35. I'm a little bit over. So, Jock, let's hit those Bow Wow sponsors.
Well, we'd like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of our listeners and to thank all of you who support WAPJ for allowing us to receive the recognition as the best non-commercial radio station in the state of Connecticut. It's just more evidence that the experiment continues here at WAPJ, listener-supported, volunteer-operated radio, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, coming at you right here from your local community radio station in the heart of downtown Torrington. We want to encourage each and every one of you to continue to support your local community radio station and take advantage of the opportunity to participate in your local community radio station. If you have events that you want to put on a community calendar, or if you want to take the opportunity to appear on the Thursday edition of the Feel Good Show on our local and live segment. You can call in, let us know what's going on with your business. Let us know what's up with your events, activities, and we'll definitely make sure that you're able to blast off to the community. So, we're all here for you each and every day. Over 25 years of community service to the town of Torrington and now beyond. And with that being said, we'll let you get back to the show with T-Boz for more words of wisdom and moments of meditation.
Yeah, maybe today I'll call it woofs of wisdom and meows of meditation. I don't know. But anyway, I just want to call your attention. Tomorrow morning on the morning show, which starts at 7, Holly Pons and Barry Susi will be reunited for this show. They were a duo on this station before I came on board. John Ramsey just did an interview, what they call the Legacy show on WAPJ, and really talked how great they were as two people, non-professional DJs, doing a show without talking over each other and all of that. So if you have the radio on, WAPJ 89.9 tomorrow from 7 until 10, you can catch the dynamic duo and see what they do best. Alyssa Milano from the show Who's the Boss with Tony Danza back in 1984, she says animals are the most beautiful gift we have. Boom. And they are. If you see things as a gift, then we're going to care for it, right? Our children are not our possessions. My mother's friend, Lynn Schrager, she lived down the block from us. She said to my mother, our children are not our possessions, but our gifts. Wow. And my mother being Italian descent, Italians think they own everything, right? They own the dumpster company anyway, but right. But Mrs. Schrager, being German, said, no, and our children are gifts. And the same thing what Alyssa Milano was saying about pets. If you see your dog, your iguana, whatever it is, you could have any kind of pet. My daughter, when she had her cows, we had a whole string of jerseys, right? But she had Folly and then she had Sangria. That was like her pets. She loved those animals, even though they provided milk and those kinds of things. So see your animals, as Alyssa says, as your pets. We look at Aristotle France. And he says this is beautiful. Until one loves an animal, part of one's soul has not been awakened. Until one loves an animal, part of one's soul has not been awakened. That's so true. And my dog, Maddie, the collie that I had here, we got for the kids, and we're going to get into that a little bit. It awakens a part of your soul. We talk about the soul. That is, the soul is something within us, beyond us, through us, right? And so that soul is who we are, right? The outside covering is just the box of what the soul is, the spirit, right? And so Aristotle France is saying your soul is awakened, and all of you have had pets or maybe still have pets. You know that awakening. You know that appreciation of nature, the way the dog turns his head, the way the cat cleans its ears, the way the rabbit hops in the cage. What I used to love, we used to bring the cows in before milking, and they'd all go into their separate stall. It'd all be beautiful, fresh green hay, fresh cut. And you would just hear them chomping, nice and slow. That's the way we should eat a little bit. Just enjoying the grass and just eating slow and just standing there. And then they'd lay down and they'd chew their cud and they'd look around. That's a message for all of us. Sometimes we're rushing to eat. We're rushing to get done. We got to go here. We got to go there, right? But sometimes when you're with your family, slow down, eat your food and chew your cud a little bit and enjoy the time. Pope Francis, there's another Francis. Pope Francis was a big defender of the ecology and the world and nature. And at one point, there was a little boy that came to him in the papal audience, and he was so distraught because he lost his dog. And in the Catholic Church at one time, we didn't believe this, but Pope Francis has corrected this. And so the little boy went up to the Pope and said, my dog died. And Pope said, okay, how are you? And the boy said, I'm very sad. And he said to the Pope, the great Pope, he said, does my dog have a soul? We just talked about the soul, right? And Pope Francis said, yes, your dog has a soul. And your dog is in heaven. That's pretty cool, right? And then he goes on to use what St. Paul says, is that paradise. right? Remember when Jesus is dying on the cross, he says to the bad guy, "You will be with me this day in paradise." I mean, the word heaven doesn't even describe the way. He doesn't call it heaven. He calls it paradise. You will be with me in paradise. So Pope Francis quotes St. Paul, and he says to the little boy, paradise is open to all of God's creatures. Right back to Genesis. All of God's creatures, the beauty of creation, the beauty of Mother Earth, the beauty of animals that we love. Paradise is open for all. And he said, yes, your dog has a soul. I think that's one of the most beautiful stories, the most beautiful thing for Pope Francis. And the boy was thrilled and happy. And hopefully that little boy maybe felt better and got himself another pet. Paradise. We look at Rob Baralt, who's an American poet, and he says this, and you're all going to agree with this: the difference between friends and pets. Friends we allow into our company, but pets we allow into our solitude. Wow. Right? You're sitting with the cat, petting him on a rainy day. The dog is curled up by the fireplace. Maybe you're just reading a book. But you look over and the dog is there, you know. You might have a rabbit that might be jumping around the house. Maybe your kids have guinea pigs or hamsters that they love to pet. Or that parrot that doesn't stop talking, or the parakeet that flies around. I had one of those and lands on your shoulder and nibbles at your ear. Your solitude. And that's how it was with my dog, Maddie. I had a collie we got when we moved up here from the Collie Rescue of New England. They do a fabulous job. And Maddie looked just like Lassie. She had the white blaze, the sable coat, the big white under her chest, the ears looked just spitting image of Lassie. And she showed me Torrington, because when I moved here, I wasn't driving anymore. And I took Maddie, and we went all over Torrington. And I would go up to Riverside Park and go up in the back. And I was in my 50s at the time, and late 40s, 50s, and go up in the back there. And I'd take Maddie off the leash, and we would go through the woods like we were scouts, you know, like back when I was a kid with my dog, Sandy. I loved Maddie. The kids used to say, if you're looking for Maddie, look for Pop. If you're looking for Pop, look for Maddie. We were joined at the hip. She was unbelievable, and we would go into the woods. We used to go up to Club Farm and go down in the back. I'd take her off the leash, and we'd run together, and we'd play hide and seek. It was just like, I felt like I was 9 years old. It was just like Timmy and Lassie. That dog gave me my eyes when I came here. And the funniest thing, I used to walk her downtown, and that's when St. Francis used to have the statue of St. Francis out front. And every time we go by, the dog used to bark at St. Francis like it was a person. But she was a beautiful animal. And when we had to put her down, she died of lung cancer. We had to put her down. The veterinarian, right before she put her to sleep, she said, you know, Boz, and it was Lori and I and the two girls were there. It was an awful day. All of you know what I'm talking about. And she gave us some fur, you know. And when right before she went to put her down, she looked at me and she said, you know, Boz, any other dog or collie that looked like Lassie would be a curse. But Maddie was Lassie. She really was. Dog was never on a leash in the backyard. We used to have tag sales here. People would give her cookies. She'd walk up. She'd walk around. We had another collie, too, Samantha. She was a tricolor, different personality. But Maddie and I would do chores, and then I was telling my wife this, and at 8:15, we're done with chores. I'd say, come on, Maddie, time for breakfast. And we'd go up to the porch, and I'd have her food ready, and I'd have mine. You know, on the farm, we learned the animals eat first, and then you eat. And so Maddie, I still have a picture of her in my prayer area. And she was an amazing dog. When I lost her, I used to say to Lori, I said, you know, there's dogs, and then there's Maddie. And she, to this day, with my family, you say that dog's name with reverence. And she really was. And I'm going to hopefully get to the story about Lassie and why that blaze is so important. Rachel Ward, the cooking show host from 2000 to 2023. Wow, she did that a long time. She says, I think having pets makes you more human. And very true what we've learned about St. Francis, right? About humanity. We're all connected. So it makes you more human because pets inspire our humanity, that natural humanity. We're talking about this clothing drive of caring for people, of understanding people's needs, of understanding our community needs, right? We had the protest a couple of weeks ago, people who believe in a different way. And so that's our human emotion. So animals bring that out in us. And it's very good that they do. We look at John Grogan, all right, and he is an author, and he wrote the book Marley, and he says this, and we just talked about this, and all of you will agree, such short little lives our pets have, spending most of their time waiting for us. They do. And they don't care if you made the big sale, if you didn't make the big sale, if you got the promotion, didn't get the promotion. They don't care if there was a traffic jam and you're late, and they don't say, where were you? What time is dinner, right? You could feed them at 6 o'clock, you could feed them at 10 o'clock. Their lives are short, but they're always waiting for you. It's a nice feeling to know that someone is waiting for you. And we should be like our pets, waiting for our spouse or our significant other, for our daughter, for our son, for our grandchildren. Our human friends with the two legs should know that we are waiting for them and have an interest in them. It's almost like when you come in, like when I used to come home from work and Maddie's paw would be going up, almost like saying, Pop, how was your day, right? We should do that. We should learn from the animals, talk like the animals. Isn't there a song like that? And I think from Winnie the Pooh, maybe. So let's keep rolling here. Jane Pauley, right, the great Today talk show host from 76 to 1989. She was 26 years old, like Stephanie, when she started that show. Okay, and it says, you can never look at a sleeping cat and feel tense. Boom. And Diana, a new cat, 90 million cat owners, will agree with that. And I remember when we had Dexter here and when he was at the condo and you would see him in his little bed. And, yeah, whatever stress you had, you saw the cat just sleeping away, and that's stress. So animals can be stress relievers. I have two good friends when their husbands passed. They both had dogs at the time. And those dogs became beyond pets. They didn't become people, but they became like a super pet. They really helped those women get through that awful time before they met the men that they have in their lives now. So pets can be, like Marion, therapeutic and can help us. Albert Einstein almost says what St. Francis says. Our task must be to free ourselves, right, because we're always into ourselves, while widening, that means opening our eyes, widening our circle of compassion, there's that word again, compassion, for animals and the beauty of nature that has been created. So in nature and animals, sometimes, like what was that song by Mac Davis, Stop and Smell the Roses? Sometimes we got to take the blinders off, okay? And take the blinders off and see the world around us and appreciate it. Like when you see cattle grazing, they have nowhere to go. They're just going along, and then sheep, and you see them, and goats, and we sometimes have to widen our view of the beautiful world that God has given us. Mother Earth, as they call it, right? I think Earth Day will be coming up pretty soon sometime. And very important. So animals and nature. Some of you don't have animals, but you have gardens. You have your flowers, the plants that you love. Learn to appreciate things more than money. We're so hell-bent, and I have nothing against capitalism, but we're so hell-bent on success that we miss the tender moments of a cat sleeping or a dog curled up by a fireplace or wagging its tail when you come home from work. Let's look at St. Francis again, and he says, praise be to you, my God, through our sister, Mother Earth. See, he calls Earth a sister, who sustains us and governs us. So Mother Earth sustains us. It does. That's how we eat. That's how we breathe. If Mother Earth decided not to spin on its axis, even if it slowed down by, it spins at 1,000 miles an hour. If it slowed down to 900 miles an hour, we would be toast. So do we appreciate the earth? Do we appreciate the gifts, as Alyssa Milano says, that God has given us? We look at, because I want to get to the Lassie story, and then the takeaway. Robert Burault, and we talked about him. He's an American poet. We mentioned that. He says this, and I think about Maddie when I read this. Have you ever wondered where you would end up if when you took your dog for a walk and never pulled back on the leash. Wow. Where would you end up if you took your dog for a walk and didn't pull back on the leash? That dog would show you a world that you need to see. That dog would show you the heart that you need to find. That dog would show you the beauty of God's creation. That's what that dog would show you. And that's really what we're talking about here today. I'm not going to be able to do the story about Lassie, unfortunately, because I want to get to the song. Let's get to the takeaway. And the takeaway is by A.A. Mines. And he wrote Winnie the Pooh, and he says this: some people talk to animals and not many listen. Right? Yeah, not many listen. That's the problem. Boom. Many people talk to animals, but they don't listen. Our animals, our pets are trying to tell us something about our lives, to slow down and enjoy the good things that God has given us. Maybe what I'll do, I will not be here next week. I have an appointment, but when I come back in 2 weeks, I will start with the Lassie story because it's my program, Jock says, and I can do what I want. And so I'll fill you all in on the beautiful story of how Lassie came to be. So we'll talk about that next week. Thank you, everyone. Marianne, great job. Jock, thank you. George, Stan, Jock, spin the vinyl. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken.